I saw how lit up my mum was when she wore these garments, and basically everything you read about it in terms of its ethics or non-ethics is exactly what it is. But I saw a lot of stuff which was just horrendous. How they treat you, and orders being cancelled last minute and money being waste. Lots of sampling that they just let you to do, and don't even know where it's going. Squeezing the necks of the small guys.
Hello and welcome to Coffee and Oysters, the London Business Bay podcast, where we get you together with business tips that actually work and let you know where it's worth tapping your Oyster card around the city. My name is Frances Sedera Matthews, and I'm a certified Notion consultant and founder of the Notion Bar, where I get my clients together with personalized productivity systems built in Notion. For my systems loving girlies, never fear, every month we host the monthly Big Notion Energy Academy, where we go over the latest Notion releases and you can ask me, a Notion consultant, your burning questions. Details in the show notes. What a week! Personally, feel like I haven't stopped moving since Friday. Today is Thursday, so it's just been a lot, but lots of really cool things. It was Halloween, so I had a Halloween party. Also went to the fireworks down at Blackheath. Highly recommend for anyone interested. It was like a whole festival. Hands down, the best fireworks display I've ever seen in my life, number one. But also just the entertainment was great. There was a live samba band, they had live karaoke, they had DJ Spoonie spinning some garage, they had like a disco tent situation. It was great, well worth the £15, and I can only see that growing in future years, to be honest. Then I was on a podcast called Come Nyam on Instagram, Come COME Nyam NYAM, and yeah, where I had to cook, which is really interesting. Kind of a take on Come Dine With Me, so very excited to see that come out. These past few days, I've been at Notion's Make With Notion conference in London, and so that was just jam-packed 2 days, catching up with the Notion community, catching up with people that have followed me online, catching up with hopefully some new clients. But yeah, really cool bunch of days. The team knocked it out of the park as usual, and now I am reintegrating into society, trying to catch up on work and smash out this end of year. But without further ado, really excited to jump into today's episode. And so, yeah, let's dive straight in.
Hey, London Business Babe. This community is built for us and by us to ungatekeep your next move and life in the city. If you never want to miss out, subscribe to the Substack, where episodes will land straight in your inbox. Plus, every other Monday, you'll get a chance to feature on the show by shouting yourself out in the Manifest Monday email. You never know who's listening. Details in the show notes. Now, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage and let's get into today's interview.
Super excited for today's episode. I'm joined with Debbie Lewis. Debs fell in love with fashion during shopping trips with her mum, leading her to study fashion and textiles at 23. Now, with 20 plus years as a senior womenswear designer, she's helped generate over £100 million in sales. Now she coaches fashion entrepreneurs to build profitable, ethical, and sustainable businesses. Welcome to the show.
Conversation.
We met at an event at the beginning of the year,
right?
and now we actually get to chat, which is
Finally,
how's your week going so far?
I've got a masterclass that I'm holding in a couple of weeks. That one event.
Nice.
So I've put myself into doing lots of mirror work, which I haven't done for a very long time. Very confronting, but shows a lot in kind of like delivery and how you come across and all that kind of stuff, because it can be quite intense. I'm very detail orientated. It's about what can I do the best of what I have and what I'm doing. Just put myself out there.
Is it going to be online or in
It's in person. It's an event called the Startup Skills Event. Don't quote me, something around skills event startup, but it's on the 17th of November at Barclays Eagles Lab, and it's an event with keynote speakers throughout the day and masterclasses by experts in their fields. So different types of industries that are involved. But if you really want to come and have an inspiring day, be spoken to, but actually be listened to and heard with me as well, and I definitely would recommend it.
Oh, amazing. I think this might go out just
Yeah, I was kind of thinking it might do.
Wishing you the best either
Thank
way.
you.
I'm sure it sounds really cool.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, you are a fashion woman. How did this love of fashion come?
And I've always been creative, and at school I was like well, I've got to big myself up. I was very good at art, fine art at school, and it was my happy place. So for me, it was kind of like, that thing about being in flow. That's kind of what it felt like to me when I was actually painting and drawing. And for me, it was like a passion, and I wanted to follow that. I never had that the idea that this can't be done. My father wanted me to be a doctor, he's academic, so it was like not being on that path, but being on my path was really important to me, and I stuck to my gun. And he took it seriously when I had my degree, actually, to be honest with you. Before that, my mum used to take me shopping, and she used to have a dressmaker. In those days, it was really common for people to have dressmakers, like ordinary people. And the dressmaker she had was this really flamboyant woman. And we go to her house, and she was dressed up in all this like lovely caftans and beautiful, colourful fabrics in her house, and just bringing out all these crepes and satins. And my mum would be looking at them, and I would be looking at her, or my mum, all the fittings and whatnot. I saw how lit up my mum was when she wore these garments, and it was at that young age, at 8, 9, and 10, it was starting to spark something in me, because my creativity was booming then, right, with artistic sensibility. My artistic way of being, when I did my O levels and all that kind of stuff, my art, it was the fashion starting to like imprint as well. Because I love magazines and I love going shopping. Like, this thing about celebrities was coming really, and looking at these people on screen and whatnot and putting the two together and going, oh, I really love the idea that women can get excited about what they're wearing, and it's a fun experience, and I'd love to be part of that.
Who was your style icon growing up?
I'd like to say Nella Cherry, actually. When she was on the cover of, I think it was maybe ID magazine, and she had the pregnant belly, this kind of very cool chick, and on top of the pops, this cool way of being, this cool stance. And that kind of era for me was really important, around really understanding what style could be. And London, and I used to buy the Face magazine, ID magazine, and just like root through all the photo shoots and fall in love with what was going on. I don't really... I maybe talk about celebrities in the beginning, early stages, but I don't really follow any particularly, because my thing is, if people have an energy that I really read and really love, then I can kind of like be anywhere. It's more better for me, rather than actually one specific person.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It is interesting how that sort of energy era has come back.
Yeah.
That sort of like 90s cool girl fashion is pretty much, you look outside and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
we're back here.
it's kind of everywhere, isn't it?
Oh, amazing. So what was your journey into becoming a senior womenswear designer? What were some of the lessons you learned along the way? Because there's fashion, but then there's like fashion that people are going to buy. And it's not this magical experience in your mum's dressmaker.
Yeah. It's actually, being a creative isn't easy. And you do build a lot of resilience. And in my day, it was really you went out there and you actually had the conversations with people. You couldn't have a framework to follow online or anything like that, So it was hard, But like I say, I wanted to follow kind of my soul, really. And I got into working with High Street. In those days, it was called High Street, not fast fashion. They remarketed it all, towards the end. But and I didn't really feel that was like my market, but it gave me the opportunity basically to design, and I got really good at it in terms of like being able to understand actually like who the customers were and like what was required, what was needed. Basically, everything you read about it in terms of its ethics or non-ethics is exactly what it is. But I saw a lot of stuff which was just horrendous. How they treat you, and orders being cancelled last minute, and money being owed, and waste, lots of sampling that they just would expect you to do, and don't even know where it's going. But of course, my directors wanted to, you have to say yes, otherwise, they wouldn't have a business anymore. It's kind of squeezing the necks of the small guys. Even though I loved this industry, it was really hard to see all of that going on. And you have the personalities that come out of it as well, that sometimes can be naming no name. That the way that you keep going is because, like, you know, I wanted to express myself in such a way, and it's almost like I have to keep that going, whatever that looked like. It might not have been what I wanted, but it got me something.
Fair enough. Would you say there were any pivotal moments where you saw all of this crazy stuff going on that spurred you on to get more interested in sustainable fashion practices?
We had lots of meetings at head offices. I'm not going to name any names,
Yeah.
but one of the ones was kind of like getting an email on a Friday evening at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's sort of like, okay, we need X amount of like garments, we need X amount of grading of this garment, we need this color, size, we need this print, and they want everything by Tuesday, you know, and it's kind of like, because they've got a strap meeting, it's kind of like, well, how are you expecting to get this done? My boss is like, we have to do it. You know, the factory is like working over the weekends, doing all the work. They get the staff, they have the meeting, and they're like, oh, we change our mind. You that was that. And like in the early days, when I first started, before these big stores were put on the high street, for example, buyers used to go to Paris, buy all this vintage gear, come back and be like, change it 3 times. That's like the rule of thumb, right? And then they wouldn't see the actual sample. They would just like book like hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of a contract, basically. So it was from that to like what I explained to you. That's like how everything changed, you know, and in like supplies and what they're now on, they're the one who have to pay. Everything is still cheaper chips, right? So where is that extra expense that needs to be paid out? It's the suppliers that are paying for it. So it becomes untenable. A lot of these companies, the company that I worked for a long time, they went out of business because it's just, you just can't sustain that type of way of work. It's like impossible, really.
Yeah. So there's sustainability in two parts. There's sustainability, it's just unmanageable practices. It's just resource wise, it's a nightmare. But then also the physical product, there must be so much waste. Let's say you've spent all weekend creating this thing, and then companies like, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, A, it's frustrating, and B, it's just a complete waste of time, you know. So, you know, it's kind of like I said, I got really good at doing what I was doing, but I also got really scared thinking I'm going to get sued. For many years, I basically I got very good at copying, and it was literally being in these meetings, and they were like, okay, so what is this brand doing and what is that brand doing? And we had to have all of that as our research, as well as kind of new things. But of course, all the new things that they they couldn't do because that would be totally ripping another brand off. So then it became, what can I do? And of course, come up with the idea. So that was always in the background as well. So it actually became quite untenable, you know, as time goes on. And you just get out of favour with some buyers. Buyers move around. Like some departments, we were churning over millions of pounds worth of business, and a buyer leaves, a new one comes along, and somehow it doesn't vibe. So that could be like that contract loss, you know. And what do you do then?
Then going back to the getting sued part, social media has allowed space for small brands to stand up for themselves a bit more in terms of bigger brands copying their designs. How do you feel that's a change that you've noticed yourself? Maybe a lot of brands stood up for themselves a lot back in the day, if social media existed.
Yeah, I mean, I think because information is more accessible and those smaller brands can come out and say, I mean, I think that, of course, it was happening before, you know. It's just kind of like like I say, we have a bit more information. It's still difficult for obviously those independent brands, and it's happening a lot more now because I read somewhere actually it was an illustrator who had some of her images copied, and apparently somebody had referred the buyer to this lady. They'd ripped off her stuff, and this lady who bought whatever it was she bought had a question about it. And they were referred to this person who actually made it originally. When I read that, I just couldn't believe what I was reading. You know, it's just obvious copying, like it's nothing, you know, like something comes from the internet, that's fine. We can just use this. But of course, we have to be careful. And of course, there's more independent brands now because it's easier to have a brand, right? In terms of kind of like the information out there. In my day, websites were even difficult to come by. So you couldn't even do that. And it's almost like a plug and play thing. I feel like we're heading towards mediocrity with that, you know, as well. You know, what is the quality of what we're doing? But, you know, it means that there is obviously copying off the charts.
There are so many brands these days. I get sent a new brand every day.
in some ways, and sometimes I'm like, I need to look like something else I've seen, especially in the activewear sector.
Yeah.
How many times can we do looking?
Yeah, how many jogging pants and whatnot can we do that's differently?
So tell me about the transitions to becoming a coach. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so that was interesting. So I had bit of an epiphany. So this was kind of like, I've been doing quite a lot of personal development work, I'll say it like that, from maybe, I don't know, probably from like 2013, 2014. And I just, I read things like Think and Grow Rich and other of the kind of staple, really amazing books. And I started to wake myself up from like this idea around being, I've not always been freelance, but I've worked freelance for a while. So I've understood that thing about doing things that are outside of the being employed and all that kind of stuff. And it is better to kind of make your own money and all that kind of things. But it's kind of trying to make it work, so I can sustain myself. And I managed to do that as a designer. But I think for me, coming back to the integrity of who I am as a person and my purpose, and really, I had coaching around what that looks like, because I hadn't really understood what that meant before I did all of that work. It was more like, okay, I like designing and I know my values, but not in a way that I've kind of like really thought about them. But, I know that I like being creative. I know that, honesty is important, all the basic things. But I didn't really understand how that translated into my work. And then I started waking up to it and I'm like working at these companies. I love the people that I work with, but like this is totally sort of like against my ideals and whatnot and my values, and actually kind of like being honest about it, not just kind of, oh, well, this doesn't matter, actually making it matter and then saying, right, okay, well, what can I do about it? If I really want to do something different and actually contribute to the world in a different way, what does that look like? And from the coaching I'd had, and I was turning myself inside out around all of that. And then I had opportunity to live coach within some of the programs that I'd signed up for and this organization. And that was like completely life-changing for me. So actually seeing the transition from people who were kind of like stuck in whatever they were stuck with, and then, getting to that next, the bridge, helping them over that bridge. And it really brought something out in me like, wow, how inspirational people are. And I got really much more connected with the world that way. Do you know what I mean? And before being this kind of in my box, which I love, but not feeling connected. Do you know what I mean? And from there, I was like, right, okay, well, I need to help my industry people with this. Because it was always that thing when you're designing, people go, oh, I love fashion and like, I want to have my brand one day and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, we talk, saying you want a brand and doing the thing is completely different. And yeah, it was just a case of like, I have to leave now. There was a point where it got in 2017, it was just my value systems and, like I say, me waking up and not really realizing that I can't carry on this way. It's just so out of integrity with, I don't know if you've ever had that moment where you're just like, I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so I left after 12 years with one company. That's it. Working in fashion, working with ethical and sustainable designers, brands, people that are advocates for that. And I went on a journey of learning with other people that were who had learned a lot more than me at that time. Having conversations, because I'm a big believer it's all about communication. And I know that sounds really obvious, it's cheesy, yeah, of course, but a lot of coaching I do is about communication and leadership, actually getting out there and understanding how to speak to people that they are lit up about what you're doing. And when you have that conversation and then whatever you're saying doesn't quite work and you kind of like, having training around that, training people, coaching people around that, was kind of my gig, which was quite interesting because it was in January, didn't know what was going on in 2020. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a very interesting path. Absolutely love it. What I love about it is really people have that aha moment, when I have someone who's come to me and they're kind of like totally just not at a point where they're about to give up, things just so, collapsed, and they have an aha moment. It could be like one little thing, but they get that one little thing, it just changes everything around what they can do that is different. They see something completely different they hadn't seen before. And for me, that's just like, because I remember I was in this kind of like burnout state quite a few times in my career. Like how I got out of it, I can't even really explain how I got out of it. I mean, in some ways, with a lot of people I work with, we all kind of like supported each other, mentored each other in a way, but we didn't really put that in a bracket. Do you know what I mean? Because there was no other way we could have done it at that point, you know. So I guess I drew from that experience as well.
Amazing. Amazing. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that the people you work with have when it comes to being a profitable brand that's sustainable and ethical?
Yeah, so we have to take quite a few steps back. So we obviously people need strategy, and if there's something wrong with the marketing or like not attracting customers, and we need to have a look at that. A lot of it is really what we say to ourselves about ourselves, you know, and for example, being visible, you know, I can't be visible. What does that look like when you are trying to be visible? What do you say to yourself? You know, a lot of the time it's comments come back, like, oh, I don't think like what I'm saying is worth saying. The thing about the confidence, the outcome of like ways of being and feeling, if you think about that is happening daily, that's compounding a problem. By the time I'm going to start my collection in a year and it's January, and you've been saying all these things to yourself and it gets to September, that's the reason why you haven't started. You know, it's because you're saying that what you have to say is not worth saying.
Yeah, no, that's so true. It all starts with
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's having also people come out of that concept that they can't make money from their art. It's a mindset thing, but it's always this kind of like side thing. And I'm not disputing that we all need to kind of eat bread and butter and pay our bills and whatnot. And often it is kind of that, oh, okay, I want to start something, do something, and it is a side business. But it's also getting out that mentality that there's something to be ashamed of in a way, or it's kind of like, it's not a thing that actually is going to like be a full-time business. It's kind of sometimes pretending, oh yeah, actually I do want it as a full-time, but actually kind of still got these emotions around it, like this kind of embarrassment thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's having people really own it and becoming that, you know, nothing wrong with having a hobby, but actually if you want a business out of it, we have to start thinking how you can be that CEO already from even you working on the business. And also, you know, that thing, a stickler about working on your own, right? This is how we're wired. So having people come out of that, and what does it look like even from the beginning to have somebody that's going to help you, and that can totally trigger 100% trigger people. I mean, I've been triggered by that in my time working in my business as well, and having people build team out, because when you do that, everything changes.
100%. I suppose the people you work with as well also not only have the benefit of you being a mindset coach, but also just your years of industry experience.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it does. Okay.
Like the more practical fashion industry things. What are some of the things that people trip up on when they're trying to launch their collection?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is to do with people go to, right, I have an idea for a brand, I have an idea for a product that maybe they've thought about it. What they tend to do is go, right, I need someone who can help me make it. And they jump to making the sample. But there's a massive process that happens from, I mean, even forgetting about, which is the important thing that I teach about the business foundations, there's also a massive process in the designing as well that factories can't always deliver that. And the problem with this industry is a lot of cottage type industry ways of working that, you know, it's all glamorized, right? Of course, we all see all the images of the catwalks and celebrities wearing the stuff. And I think that's obviously the image that most people have of it. And there's a huge part in the background that is, like I say, hidden. So often people don't really get it. They have this thing, well, I just need to make something. I'll put it on Instagram and I'm going to sell it, right? You know, it's that kind of mentality. And of course, the idea that I've got is absolutely amazing, you know, but until we have those skilled people as part of the process, and when I say skilled, I mean, there's a whole raft of job titles that actually need to be involved in making even one garment. Most people don't understand that, but that's kind of the part to understand. Do you know what I mean? Because if you get that, and if you understand that actually you do need to work on yourself, which I know again sounds obvious, but it's the things that we don't really want to deal with. You know, it's not attractive, it's not exciting. The sexy parts are going to make the thing and the creative thing. It is about planning, but most people don't really want to do that because it's just not exciting enough.
Interesting.
But that's what is going to move things. And coming out of yourself, that's also a massive kicker that is really challenging for people, especially like just starting out and it doesn't feel like it's a proper, and you know, you're not really too sure how it's going to work out. Actually talking about it can be like a really huge challenge, and unless you're talking about what you're doing online or in person, well, it just lives in here. And that's why you have lots of people go, oh yeah, I really want to. I mean, you know, we've both been there. We can talk till the cows come home, can't we, to ourselves about stuff, but unless we're sharing it, then it's not going to show up.
Yeah, no one will know it exists.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So it's really having people come out and changing their mindsets around how they are in that sensibility, which is progress. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, this is the thing that I always tell people, you know, it's kind of, when you talk about deep transformation, you know, it's over a systematic kind of period and doing the work. And sometimes you don't even know why you're doing it, but you know that you want to change. It's always about like the end goal.
100%. Now let's pivot towards you growing this business. What are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way in terms of how you deliver your consulting and coaching? You had to pivot or maybe offer different things along the way.
Few things actually, because the coaching that I do, it's quite high ticket, I would say. For some people probably would put that in that bracket. I don't kind of coach on like £50 an hour, all that kind of stuff, but I promise people a transformation, and revenues increase, incomes increase, they build team, they that impacts their personal lives, their relationships get better with their partners and their kids, and they feel better, their health is better. So it's kind of like a holistic way of working with life. It's not just about you have a business here, have your like personal life here, everything is intertwined. So it's really important for like the whole thing to come together as like to coach people around that. 'Cause for me, I would feel like quite cheated if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of this thing about, you know, not about having a brand. It's kind of, it's all about you and owning that, you know, really owning that sensibility. Just to go back to question, so I've got some smaller packages actually that I've put in place because a lot of the stuff was like slightly higher. And I think for me, I kind of got lost in a lot of this kind of online world of using other people's frameworks to cause my business rather than actually what is it that I really want to do? How do I want to do it? Because before 2020, I was out there speaking to people and building coaching that way. And 2020, of course, with lockdown, it was kind of online, right? Not kind of, it was. And that's all I was doing. And I feel like it's only the last couple of years that I've come out of that. Like, why following this person? I've done some amazing, like, courses and programs with other coaches. I really had to come back last year and really look at what is it that how do I want to cause my business? What like, and I've been going out and doing a lot more networking, which has made a massive difference. Surprise, surprise. But again, the thing is about conversations and communication. And I used that to the hill. I had so much training around it and I absolutely love being with people. So it kind of made sense. But it didn't make sense with kind of what I'd learned from some of these other coaches. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, it was great at the time, but I'm not. I really have to kind of make my own. And that's one of the biggest things that I would give a tip around when you are building a business is really focus on how you are going to do it and not anybody else.
Yeah, no, I feel very similar. Like it's interesting to take inspiration from other people, but it's such a personal thing at the end of the day, especially if you're building a business around your lifestyle, right? You might want to live a certain way or have certain hobbies, or there's not really any one size fits all answer.
No, 100%, 100%. Yeah, because I think, you know, a lot of it is like a boundary. For me, when I joined a lot of these programs, I was like, oh, I'm going to upset the coach if I do it this way. And they don't even know that I'm doing it or not doing it.
Yeah.
It's really kind of like coming into owning and trusting yourself. with what you're doing, even though you might not know how it's going to work out, but like just trust that, believe that it will do. And if you do it how you want to do it, it will work rather than somebody else's framework and process.
Hope you're enjoying the show. We'd love to hear what you're thinking. Drop a comment and share your thoughts. Even better, if you're loving the show, take 2 seconds to rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast. It really helps other people find us. And if you want to be a guest, details in the show notes on how to sign up. Now, let's jump back in.
Thank you for taking us along your business journey. It's fascinating because you've come a long way from corporate to now helping people build their own dreams, essentially. But now we're going to pivot into the part of the show where we talk about things that bring joy. And I always like to start off this section with a song. Do you have a walk-up song or a hype song
Oh my God.
that makes you be ready to take on the
Oh
world?
my hype song. Geez, this is when my brain goes numb. Do you know what it is? It's because I listen to so many different types of music. So, bloody hell, what do I have? I mean, I used to go out and listen to, I used to go out clubbing in the house music day. I used to go to the Ministry of Sounds and listen to like Masters at Work and David Morales. And so all these like 90s, house J's.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love
So
house.
for me, probably like I would put on like Defected or something like on YouTube and just be like, right, I'm just, if I'm feeling a bit low, a bit down. I don't know if it's always wake up music, but but just, yeah, something to get me hyped up. But if I'm feeling a bit like, I need to move my energy, then I definitely would put on a house tune.
Okay. We love house here. My boyfriend's a house DJ.
Oh, really? Oh,
There are a lot.
cool.
And do you have any personal policies or boundaries that keep you sane? Mine's no call before 10 a.m.
Yeah, so it kind of changes for me. I mean, I'm quite a stickler around engineer planning everything. Like like I said, I'm very detailed orientated. I do a lot around that. So it just depends on kind of what my weeks look like. I can be literally right. I have half an hour where I'm going to check WhatsApp kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it just depends on what my week is like. But for me, it's about, one of my mentors taught me around whatever it is you say yes to, it's got it being exactly in line with your purpose. I can slip out some family meal or whatever, and you have to deal with stuff, right? Generally speaking, I really try and keep it watertight, because I find by the time I get to the end of the week, I'm like, oh, that's prize. And it feels good because I've ticked the boxes of what I need to tick the boxes on, and not being privy to like communication and whatnot, because it's so easy, isn't it, to get lost in this email and this newsletter, or I don't know, calls, and they want information. Or it really is about focusing on, for me, if I focus on my purpose, this is what I need to do there, these are the people that I need to contribute to today. Anything else is just not going to be dealt with until, I don't know, 6 o'clock in the evening.
No, I hear it. I hear it. I live my life mostly like I deal with the thing when it's time to deal with the thing, but I can't process it before. Because that's the way it works anyway. For example, last week I had a Halloween party. I knew that I had no time to dedicate towards it until the day. I'm going to deal with that on the day.
Wow.
But for right now, I'm focusing on other
Okay. But did that mean that you didn't then, were you rushing around on the same day trying to get the prep done for that?
No, because I set aside that day.
Yeah.
Like it was a good amount of time, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'll deal with the thing when I know I have time to deal with it.
Yeah. But this is the thing, right?
Yeah, love it. And now when it comes to style, do you have any kind of style uniform, or are there any brands that you love?
Yeah. For me, growing up, when you talk about style icons, I guess, people like Vivienne Westwood is one of my like biggest like inspiration. Alexander McQueen, I kind of like was growing up with kind of those designers in my timeline. I mean, my style is very eclectic. I can kind of like, wear very casual, jeans, denim, and then I can get dressed up and whatnot. I mean, it's changed throughout the years, but I'll be plugged into lots of different types of styles and looks, And for me, it's just about making sure that it's not about fashion necessarily, I like that, but it's about what suits. It's not about trend, because anything can be fashion, really. Do you know what I mean? If it's you that carries the thing. and you're comfortable with kind of like what it is that you're portraying and what it is that you're saying. Although, I get lots of people don't get that concept, but if, in my world and how I am as a creative, it was important for me in some ways. I think I went through the whole designer transition of kind of like black. I was talking to my friend yesterday and she was like, oh my God, you look so feminine. And I'm like, oh. I was just wearing a jumper and it was like an 80s style one, like a vintage thing. And I've really been sort of recently kind of like pushing myself out to buy colour. And I'm literally but going really quite crazy now. Like I've got a green dress and I'm like looking at yellow and all that kind of stuff. And it's because I've just spent so many years in this like black uniform, because I worked as a print designer as well as a fashion designer. Right? Walk into the showrooms and they'd just be like, just pattern everywhere. For me, the relaxation part of it was just like dressing in black and seeing black. But I've come to that whole thing this year. I've got to get out of that. It's just too much of a uniform from my old days, So I'm kind of like making a difference now and doing the colour thing now. Could be something about being a bit more mature as well. Yeah, and trying to get out of that conversation of kind of like being invisible, which I do hear a lot of mature women have that, I'm like, I'm not getting into kind of conversation about that. And this is part of it to, transform it.
Love that. So as someone who does wear a lot of black, I sympathise.
Yeah.
I sympathise. Now that you've said it, because I'm overstimulated.
What's
plain?
It does sometimes feel a bit easier, doesn't it? It was a subconscious thing, but then it became conscious. So, but yeah, it's also kind of an uniform thing, like you're in certain circles, it kind of, our peer groups do influence us, don't they, and what we're reading and whatnot.
100%. And now, any beauty products? Do you have any hero beauty products that you swear by? Could be hair, skin, makeup, body care.
Well, hero product, because I suffer from eczema, and with menopause I got kind of which is quite common actually, like skin rashes and things like that. So I've always had problem skin really, so massively sensitive. So I've always had to really be careful what's on my skin. So yeah, there's so many things that I've used, but Liz Earle's a very good brand if you've got eczema, psoriasis, because she actually did have that and she built this beauty brand. What else do I do? Balance Me has been a good brand for me. LMS I've actually switched over to for my moisturiser, which is absolutely divine. Their products are absolutely like a rich lady when I'm using those.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, as someone with eczema, I can relate. You have to be very careful about what you put on your skin.
Yeah. Sea moss is as well. I don't know if you're into making smoothies, but within that, put it in the blender. Yeah, It's got lots of like B vitamins and it's really good for your body. Really, really good.
Yeah.
And really good for skin as well.
Okay, I need to get back on that.
Just of it.
Yeah. It's just hard. It's like another thing to add into the day.
Exactly. When we get busy, it's quite challenging.
Yeah. And how about tech? Do you have any apps that you swear by for getting your work done?
Yeah, I'm not always the best at stuff like that. I'm kind of a bit old school. Someone actually did take me through their Notion board, actually, Francis. A couple of weeks ago. Somebody that's in the business mastermind one that I'm in, and she's very systems orientated, and I loved it. So I'm like about four different things that I'm using in one, but it's just, for me, it's all the learning that goes with some of these things. I'd like to tell you that I've got like these amazing apps that I love, but like really anything that sort of like it's really amazing that I think I really want to use it. I've got the usual thing. Yeah, for me, probably need more tips than me giving tips.
Fair enough. We've got a whole library in the Coffee and Oysters guide of tools and things that people have recommended. So feel free to have a look through.
So hey again. Did you know there are roughly 100,000 London business babes out there? And we're on a mission to reach as many as possible. Enjoying what you hear? To support the hours of work that goes into making this special, you can either A, consider supporting directly as a paid monthly Substack subscriber to also unlock future exclusive content for less than a coffee and a croissant. B, any brands listening? We'd love to explore ways for you to be part of the journey. C, at the very least, on your next co-working date, tell a fellow London business babe about us. Details in the show notes. Now let's jump back in. Thank you very much for giving us a little lifestyle guide. Definitely we'll check out some of those brands and products that you mentioned.
Brilliant.
Now we're going to quickly shift onto your London guide. So for people listening, where are you based?
I'm in Dalston, so this is apparently the one of the trendy areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything on your London bucket list?
In terms of, I mean, I can suggest some things. I feel like on so many things, you know, being the age I am, I feel like I'm heading out of London at some point. A
Fair
friend of me
enough.
was saying to me, asking me yesterday, do you think you're going to stay here? And I'm like, I don't see myself being an elderly lady and being in the UK. I'd love to go somewhere else. But anyway, we're talking about London.
Yeah.
In such a vibrant area, there's always things popping up. I did go to really lovely Vietnamese. There's lots of lovely Vietnamese restaurants just in the little pocket of area that I am in. How? Hai. I don't know if I'm actually pronouncing that correctly. How Cafe. Absolutely gorgeous food. Definitely recommend it. And yeah, I live just around the corner from the Regent's Canal. There's a canal that runs right through, you know, obviously the canals don't stop, they just carry on. And from here, you know, going right through east, I mean, I don't know, I could be sat here for ages giving you a whole list of things. But there's a cafe called Cafe Root, which is really cool. There's a cafe called the Toe Park, which was actually the original cafe in this strip where I am after before the regeneration, that was like the first one that they put in. And that's kind of Mediterranean food and whatnot. And I love Mediterranean like foods. I lived on and off in Barcelona for a while.
Are you part of any networking or co-working memberships?
Yeah, so I'm part of a business mastermind with some other ladies that are in. So I did a lot of networking. Well, this year I have done a lot of networking in my borough. So I'm in the borough of Hackney, and I've got involved in something called Hackney Impact. So they have ploughed a lot of money into this borough. Maybe you do know, maybe you don't know. And they are, you know, obviously regenerating the community. So I'm part of a consortium of other creatives actually, and we are looking for a building piece. Lots of other people, unfortunately. But what they're doing, they've closed quite a few schools in this borough.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go into politics, but it is because I'm getting connected with other types of groups, like Garden Community, for example. And then we are, again, building as a group. It's very powerful. Applying at one point, we will apply for some funding. We will definitely get some space. I don't know, you know, where, but I think it's going to happen. We create an ecosystem, so where it will be food. Obviously, I come from the fashion, somebody who's an actress, who's theatre, who teaches the steel pans, so there's music.
Nice.
There's an architect and somebody who do governance, and power of who we are and what we've done with all of our amazing experience, what we can actually contribute in the community, and actually, you know, grassroots stuff, not just soundbite things, you know. And there is quite a lot of stuff going on in this borough, and I'm just keen that we can have more things. And then, you know, that's also frameworks for other areas of London, and other areas of London are doing their thing. And, you know, let's see what we can build. You know, power to the people.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's like you're in co-op, basically.
Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do what I do, but I kind of feel like it is a privilege, you know, for what I do, and even the people that come to me in terms of kind of like what the kind of investment that needs to happen for what I do. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of just means that being involved in this kind of grassroots way of community, it's ticking lots of other boxes that I feel like I'm not able to do with what I've been doing in previously. And it's just been brilliant just to be involved with other people's projects, people as well, and actually see what is going on, what people are dealing with.
Amazing. And this is a sign for anyone listening to take a look at some of the initiatives that their London borough has got going on, but people often just don't know about them.
They really don't. And there's lots of money, but again, it's trying to access that. It's a kicker.
Don't worry if it's a lot to take in. All of the amazing tools, spots and recommendations mentioned by our guests can be found in the Coffee and Oysters guide. Details in the show notes.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. To round off the show, what is a recent win that you would like to celebrate for yourself? And is there a win of someone else's that you would love to celebrate?
Think I'm really not very good at thinking about my wins. I'm really good at coaching other people about their wins. I think for me, it's I had this goal around doing more speaking events. So this event coming up, which we shared earlier on, that's definitely a massive win for me. This kind of idea about the visibility, yeah, and just that idea of kind of training myself. If I'm fulfilling on the purpose that I said I want to fulfill on, actually stepping into that and doing something a bit different. So that's cool. That's a good tick box, right? The other question was a win for someone else, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There probably is loads. I just can't even think. My goodness.
It's a client win.
Could be a client win. Yeah. I have a new client. She's got the okay sign off to do her fashion show in January. Now working between now and January to get all her collections sorted for the show. So that's cool. That doesn't always come around, does it?
Exciting.
Yeah.
Very big deal. And then lastly, I always like to say, you never know who's listening. Is there anything that you would like to plug? And is there anything that you need help with?
Well, I do have a new program coming, if I'm allowed to talk about this new program. So I've been doing a lot of quite focused business coaching over the last kind of like 4 or 5 years. And what I've got is I quite miss getting my hands dirty in the design process part of things. So I am creating a program where people will be able to work through their collection, their garment collection, accessories collection, and actually think about, we'll work through the positioning of it plus your customer. So it's like a 3-pronged, I always like this trifecta thing, because what I see missing is, as I mentioned, people go and like make stuff and then like, oh, who's buying? No one's buying. Looking at who it is that you are really targeting properly, really nailing, deep diving into your customer. Positioning, as I said, that comes out of the positioning and actually what you're making as well as a 3-pronged approach. So yeah, I'm going to be launching that actually in the next couple of weeks before Christmas.
Exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you send over the link and we'll pop it in the show
Will
notes?
do. Thank you.
And is there anything you need help with?
Always things. For me, it's stuff around social media, and ChatGPT has its uses, of course. It's always nice to brainstorm with human beings. I feel like, again, with that visibility, having some help around like doing some videos, or I really love doing reels in the way that I've been doing them. I just haven't been doing them that often.
Yeah.
And just getting back into the fun again of how things could be around that topic. I think marketing's always that big umbrella, isn't it? Always like, we need to do more. But it's actually going into that direction again of what part of it that I love and focus a lot more on that. What does that look like, And always, tech is always a thing as well, like, sales pages and I mean, I can do them, but they just suck so much time.
Designing my website, then maybe.
Oh, that's just like never ending, that stuff.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been really, I've loved it.
People find you.
Okay, so online, what am I online? I'm out on LinkedIn. So if you look Debbie Bernadette Lewis, I'll come up. My website is debslewis.com, and Instagram, I'm Debs Lewis Fashion Coach. So yeah.
Awesome. I will put all of your details in the show notes. And in the meantime, thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your week.
You too.
Thanks for listening. Get in touch at coffeeandoysters@gmail.com. Stay connected at Coffee and Oysters Pod on TikTok and Instagram. And never miss out by subscribing to Substack. Details in the show notes. And most importantly, keep those 5-star ratings coming and see you next time.